Friedman speaks. And honestly, it's not that compelling about the Dodgers. I have a couple of thoughts about the Rams and the trade deadline that maybe you might not have thought of. And did you notice the Chargers benched their top free agent acquisition in the second half on Monday? Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelenos. It is October 19th, 2022. Still with the wife. We were going to go out and catch a hockey game last night, but unfortunately she was put on the physically unable to perform list. Maybe today things will be better. It's a beautiful day. If you like talking LA sports, don't forget to clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comment. I'm not perfect, but hopefully at least thought-provoking. Now, before we get through the news and notes from around LA sports, let's take a quick look at the scoreboard. The NBA season opened last night, and Lakers, we'll go into a little more detail in a moment. They lost to defending champion Golden State, 123-109. LeBron James was terrific. He scored 31 points, but like I said, we'll get to that in a moment. The Kings have now won 3 consecutive games, including another overtime win last night, 4-3 over the Predators. Matt Roy scores twice, but Gabe Vilardi's resurgence continues. He scored the game winner in the shootout. As for today, there's no game scheduled for any LA teams. So, after the Dodgers' frankly disgusting collapse in the playoffs, finally, Andrew Friedman decides to give a post-mortem, the president of the team. He comes out, he does confirm that Dave Roberts, the manager, will be back, but then things got testy because he was asked questions that A, he says he's answered before, and B, he's tired of being asked. Well, if you don't want to be asked those questions, pal, there's 2 solutions. One, you can quit, which nobody really wants. Not even the most fervent Dodgers skeptic believes you're doing a lousy job, so we don't want you to quit. But 2, you're simply going to have to bring home the hardware. That is the price of working for one of the elite franchises in the major leagues. It would be the same if it was the Yankees. It would be the same if it was the Cardinals. It would be the same if it was any number of other elite teams. You wanted the gig, you have to answer the uncomfortable questions. So, one of the questions that he was asked, which he did not like, was, who is making these calls during the game about pitching? Is it you or Dave Roberts? Which frankly, fair question, because the Dodgers are extremely predictable. No starting pitcher in that series against the Padres lasted beyond 5 innings. And it's not because they were stinking up the joint. It was because something in the analytics sheet told Roberts he had to pull the pitcher. So is it Roberts or is it Friedman? He said Roberts makes the decision 100%. After every single postseason, I've answered that question, so I don't feel that's the narrative. Mr. Friedman, it is the narrative. Change the narrative by changing the strategy. Again, Tyler Anderson was pulled after 5 innings, which were 5 shutout innings in the most important game of the season. You had the entire year on the line. These are fair questions. Not everything a sports writer asks is stupid. Live crazy. Have some of these guys go 7 for Pete's sake. Now, I'm not trying to suggest that's a one-stop solution, but sometimes common sense has to override the spreadsheet. And Friedman got extremely defensive over the idea of changing anything. So you may think of yourself as the smartest man in the room, but for centuries, people have said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. If you, Mr. Friedman, with respect, are doing the same thing over and over, you can't be the smartest man in the room if you're literally following the definition of insanity. And I say that with respect. Now going into, because obviously the Dodgers have been winning a ton. They just don't win when it matters most. To give you some notes on the offseason, Friedman has, quote, a strong hope that, unquote, that Clayton Kershaw will return in 2023. The Dodgers payroll right now stands at $118.9 million, which sounds like, hey, we're in great shape with the cap, but that's only with current players signed. So then you have to ask yourself, what about Justin Turner? He has an option. He could be let go for $2 million, or you could pay him $16 million. What about Cody Bellinger? Arbitration eligible Cody Bellinger. The man hit only .205 last year. He was a former MVP with the team. Would you pay him an arbitration eligible $18.5 million? Would you? We haven't even talked yet about what would you do about Trey Turner. You know, how much of a raise does Kershaw get being a lifer with the Dodgers with all those Cy Youngs? What about other players who will enter free agency? What about Aaron Judge? So just because at this moment it's $118.9 million, that doesn't really mean squat at the moment. We'll have to wait and see. The man can build a team, that being Friedman. But again, winning when it matters most. Winning in the postseason. So there are a lot of names being bandied about, whether Christian McCaffrey should be a Ram, for example. What should they do about the offensive line? And I do read the comments that you guys leave in the comments thread. Why? Because they're intelligent. And that's just not patting you on the head. Somebody asked me yesterday, I don't want to give the person's name because I don't want to put any pressure on that person or anything like that. Asked a smart question. Why isn't Sean McVay lobbing a phone call to Andrew Whitworth, the former left tackle? I think there's a reason for it. I could be wrong, but I believe that Whitworth, as you recall, he was being courted by the Dallas Cowboys, and he said, you guys are going to have to talk to my wife first. Translation, I've spent so much time away from my family. I want to be around my wife. It's her call, not mine. So if you have the guts to call and talk to Andrew Whitworth's wife, you'll get an answer. But with the Rams, I think it's a step further. He loves being part of the Rams' legacy. There's no question about it. He's still at SoFi Stadium on Sundays. He's still doing public relations stuff for the Rams. But, and this is important, Sean McVay got married in the offseason too. Sean McVay has built relationships with his long-term players, such as Whitworth. He has a pretty good idea of what marriage is now, even though he's only been married for a few months. He has a pretty good idea of sometimes you got to put your ego aside and listen to the wife, right? So I think Sean McVay kind of would broach the topic, but he would do so only if the situation were absolutely, completely dire, which it sounds like it is now. So maybe he already knows the answer. But that leaves questions about everything else. What about the offensive line? What about running back if Cam Akers is no longer part of the process? What about wide receiver? Well, here's a thought that people hadn't really considered. What about pass rush? I mean, yeah, the Rams play defense pretty well, but they're not getting to the quarterback like they used to. See, if it's me and you're going to try to F them picks, wouldn't you try to see how you can plug these other holes from within and then try to get yourself a pass rusher like you did with Von Miller last year? For example, the Rams yesterday, they signed an offensive tackle, Ty Nsekhe, who I'm probably mispronouncing his name. The guy is a part-time starter. His salad days were with Dallas. He was currently on the Colts practice squad. Maybe he can give you a few downs. What about Kyren Williams, the draft pick? He injured himself in training camp. He broke his foot. He had surgery. They're going to be able to find out in a couple of weeks whether this kid can contribute at all. Sean McVay loved what he was doing in training camp. If he can, in fact, play a few games toward the end, maybe he can be part of the solution at running back since Cam Akers isn't going to be. By the way, the Rams also released Tack McKinley, the defensive lineman, because he wasn't getting a pass rush. So, again, back to the pass rush. Can you solve offensive line problems from within? Can you solve running back problems from within? And then if it's me, why not inquire about Robert Quinn, the pass rusher from Chicago, who used to be a Ram? Why not inquire about Bradley Chubb in Denver? Pass rusher, could do a lot of damage next to Aaron Donald. Now, those are just my thoughts about your defending champs. I mentioned Von Miller earlier, by the way. Can we just acknowledge that Von Miller is a weird dude, right? The reason I bring this up is somebody asked him what would have kept him on the Rams. He said if LA lost the Super Bowl, he probably would have stayed. What? No, I'm taking the Super Bowl title and waving goodbye, dude. You can go. If losing is what keeps you attracted to a team, you got to go. Did you notice? Because I didn't. I didn't notice because I was overwhelmed by the stench from both teams' offenses. Quarterback J.C. Jackson was benched during halftime of Monday Night Football for the Chargers. Pardon me. Jackson signed an $82.5 million contract. And that became the deal because he had 22 picks over when he played for the New England Patriots. Now offenses are picking on him. We've talked about this before, though. New England likes to play man defense, where he excelled. The Chargers play zone. Was it right to bench him, though? I'm just asking. Think about it. LA's defense on Monday only allowed 16 points. Would it be possible, because Denver's offense is so bad, that you keep him out there just so he can get more playing time and try to get acclimated? I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just asking the question. Dustin Hopkins is out 2 to 4 weeks. The kicker who nailed 4 field goals. He injured his right hamstring. If you saw the game on Monday Night Football, it was the first time I would ever describe the word heroic for a kicker. He was just nails. Every swipe of the leg, he described it as being stabbed in the back of his leg. Even on the game winner, he fell. So he couldn't even really celebrate because he was writhing in pain. So he's out for at least 2 weeks, possibly a month. LeBron James, after the opening night loss, said, quote, "We're getting good looks. To be completely honest, we're not a team constructed of great shooting. It's not like we're sitting here with a lot of lasers on our team," unquote. And that's fair. Absolutely fair. I watched the Lakers game last night, and it's true, we knew that they weren't necessarily surrounded with a bunch of great shooters. But if I were going to use my one word to describe the Lakers' performance last night, clumsy. Very clumsy. 21 turnovers. That is extremely clumsy. They did not take care of the basketball. And if you're going to do that against Golden State's going to run you out of the gym. I would say I liked the defensive hustle. I definitely liked the energy. I definitely liked that they were getting open looks. I'm not going to throw dirt or crap all over the Lakers for this performance. I still think in the grand scheme of things, I think this is going to be a pretty fun team to watch because they are trying really, really hard. They are playing defense really hard, and they are getting open looks. Some nights, those open looks are going to fall, and they're going to look amazing. This is what happens when you have a new team with a lot of young players and a brand new offense trying to juggle and trying to figure out who fits. There's going to be growing pains. Last night is one. Finally, linebacker Dylan Williams from Long Beach Poly has decommitted from USC. He's the number 11 outside linebacker in the nation for the class of 2024, so it's not necessarily immediate impact. He said he might continue to commit to USC or recommit to USC. We just don't know. Now, if you enjoyed today's broadcast, don't forget to like and subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We do talk LA sports here. Thanks for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.